Morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Wilsonville, your Chamber of Commerce. My name is Kevin O'Malley, CEO, and we are thrilled to be excited to talk about reopening and recovery as we move forward together. So without further ado, what I want to make sure you know is a couple housekeeping. If you have a question or comment, please leave it in the comment section, and if at all possible, we will get to it during our Q&A section, and if not, we will certainly drop back in later because there will be a recording showing up about 5 minutes after we're concluded today. So we will just get started because there's a lot to cover this morning. And our very first guest, and we thank you very much for coming this morning, Raihana, is the Governor's Regional Solution Team Leader for Metropolitan Portland. We're going to pop up her contact information if I can make that work right. There we go. Raihana was, prior to her current role, she was Government Relations Manager for Portland Business Alliance for over 4 years. And before that, she worked in Portland's mayor office on economic development and urban planning. So Raihana, we know you are crazy busy. We really thank you for taking time to share with us this morning. And I am going to be driving this for you. So it's not her fault. I am going to go ahead and get the screens up here for you right away and see if we can't make this happen correctly. And there we go. Getting there. Application window. Take it away, Raihana.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you for the opportunity to present before you and your members this morning. The governor's framework for reopening Oregon is designed to be cautious, incremental, and based on science and data. In Oregon, we've flattened the curve, but we know it's not without the sacrifices that you and others have made. The governor's top priority is ensuring the public health and safety of everyone. At the same time, we know that people are experiencing significant economic hardship. The governor's reopening plan strives to achieve the delicate balance between public health and the health of our economy. Next slide, please. We need to underscore what Dr. Anthony Fauci says. We don't make the timeline, the virus makes the timeline. Next slide, please. The governor has several goals for reopening. They're listed here. Minimize hospitalizations and deaths, allow people to safely return to work so that they can support themselves and their families, minimize risk to frontline workers, avoid overwhelming healthcare systems, protecting those at highest risk of severe illness, especially communities of color, and support for small local gatherings that preserve community cohesion and cultural practices. Next slide, please. It's important to note that even as we reopen, life will look different. We'll be living with the virus until there's a reliable treatment or vaccine, which is many, many months out. Until then, the primary tools that we have to fight the virus are actually pretty low tech, and they include physical distancing and personal hygiene. Every restriction that we lift will increase transmission and the number of cases. That's why it's important for us to reopen in a thoughtful and safe manner. Next slide, please. Statewide face covering policy. Businesses where physical distancing can't be maintained are to require employees to wear a mask or cloth material that covers the nose and mouth. Employers are required to provide face coverings to employees in these situations. It's recommended that at a business where employees are required to wear face coverings, that they establish mandatory face covering policies for customers as well. Finally, it's strongly recommended that when in indoor public places where physical distancing of 6 feet or more cannot be maintained, to wear face coverings. Next slide, please. Throughout all of the phases for reopening, there are general guidelines for individuals. They are: stay at home if sick or vulnerable, practice good hygiene, strongly consider the use of face coverings in public, maintain physical distance, limit your visitation to nursing homes and hospitals, and stay close to home. Next slide, please. Throughout all of the phases for reopening, there are also general guidelines for all employers. They are knowing the signs and symptoms, understanding transmission, maintaining physical distancing wherever possible, face coverings, implementing cleaning disinfection protocols, training employees, encouraging employees to stay home if sick, and modifying schedules and discouraging work travel. Next slide, please. There are 7 prerequisites that a county or a health district must achieve before applying to enter into phase 1. Some of the prerequisites are measured by county and some by health region. They are a declining prevalence of COVID-19, a robust testing system, and a robust contact tracing system. Next slide, please. Isolation and quarantine facilities available for those who cannot self-isolate, a commitment to adhere to industry sector guidelines, adequate supply or sufficient healthcare capacity, and sufficient personal protective equipment. Next slide, please. Here's a map of the health districts across the state. These regions were in place across the state prior to COVID. We're in Health District Region 1, which is comprised of Clackamas, Multnomah, Washington, Tillamook, Columbia, and Clatsop counties. Once a county or region feels that they've met all 7 of the prerequisites for reopening, they may submit an application to the governor's office. Clackamas County and Washington County have both been approved to move into phase 1. For phase 2, they will need to submit a letter to the governor's office after at least 21 days in phase 1, stating that they continue to meet the prerequisites required to advance to the next phase. Next slide, please. This table shows changes allowed for specific employers in different phases. The middle column represents guidelines that apply statewide for outdoor recreation, retail stores, childcare, summer school camps, youth activities, and takeout only at restaurants. The right-hand column applies to counties in phase 1. These are the activities that are allowed in phase 1 under guidelines: restaurants and bars, personal service providers, malls, gyms, local gatherings of no more than 25 people, so long as people maintain physical distancing. Next slide, please. Given time constraints, I won't go over all of the sector-specific guidelines in detail. Instead, here's some examples of the types of guidelines that exist. For restaurants and bars, ensure that tables are spaced at least 6 feet apart, require all employees to wear cloth or cloth coverings, face coverings, and all on-site consumption of food and drinks by 10 p.m. For retail, limit the number of customers and maintain at least 6 feet of distance between people and employees in the store. Frequently clean and sanitize work areas and high traffic areas. Require all employees to wear face coverings. Prohibit customers from trying on items that are worn on the face. And if reopening fitting rooms, customers should wash hands or hand sanitize before and after. For personal services, appointments and pre-appointment health check required, including maintaining a customer log, 6 feet of physical distancing, and face coverings, capes, smocks required by employees and for clients, depending on the services provided. Common themes throughout these sector guidelines and all of the other sector guidelines include physical distancing, increased cleaning and sanitization, face coverings, and keeping an eye out for symptoms. Next slide, please. Here's an example of what's not included in phase 1. Things like public schools, museums, zoos, venues, amusement parks, contact sports courts, playground equipment, and gatherings of over 25 people. Next slide, please. There are metrics that we don't want to trigger in order to avoid the need to move to an earlier phase of reopening. The metrics are an inability to meet contact tracing requirements, evidence of increasing prevalence of COVID-19, and evidence of increasing burden of severe COVID-19 cases. If any of these metrics are triggered, it's possible that there will be a move back to an earlier phase. There won't be an automatic reversal, however. The Oregon Health Authority will first consult with local public health before determining the best course of action. Next slide. The details of phase 2 are still unknown. The specifics will be informed by the experience and information gathered in phase 1. After at least 21 days in phase 1, counties that continue to meet the prerequisites may be able to enter phase 2. Some examples of things that are being considered for phase 2 include an expanded gathering size of up to 100 people, some office work, and an expanded curfew for restaurants and bars to midnight. But again, these details are still being finalized. Next slide, please. Phase 3 won't happen until there's a reliable treatment or vaccine, which is many, many months out. Therefore, all large gatherings should be canceled or modified to a smaller size of less than 25 people through at least September. Further guidance on large gatherings for later in the fall will be provided this summer. Concerts, live audience sports, conventions, and festivals won't happen until there's a reliable treatment or vaccine. Next slide, please. This chart is a recap or summary of the phases and what's allowed in each phase. The types of activities allowed gradually increase in risk level with each phase. Again, you must be in each phase for a minimum of 21 days and meet the prerequisites for reopening before advancing to the next phase. I'll close by saying that the governor continues to coordinate with her fellow West Coast governors. They're in regular communication, consult with one another, and share best practices and information. While there's coordination among these Western states, there are areas where we may differ given our individual states' unique situational needs. Finally, you may find, next slide, please. Finally, you may find information and resources about the reopening and industry sector guidelines on the Governor and Oregon Health Authority's pages, web pages. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions during the second portion of the agenda. And thank you again for the opportunity to present.
Very much. We'll get some questions, I'm sure, about where we are. It's a complicated process, and step by step, we're moving through it. So let me make sure that we've got that screen put out of the way. And next up would be, Rob, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself while I do the introductions? And there we go. Rob Campbell is the director of what we affectionately call SBDC. It's a great acronym. It stands for Director Small Business Development Center. On a personal note, had the advantage in small business to attend many, many workshops. It's a great tool. Rob has been leading that group for many, many years, and he is committed to helping small to large businesses not only have more joy in what they do, which is a great thing, but also create more growth and wealth. So without further ado, we're going to let Rob take over. And would you like me to share? You tell me when to share page, all right?
Okay. Yeah, Kevin, thank you. Kevin, Jordan, it's great to be with you guys this morning. Thank you for having me. Before I start, I'm going to give a quick brief overview of the SBDC. A lot of people, even though we've been in existence since the early 80s, a lot of people don't know who we are or where we are. But there's 63 SBDC networks in the United States and in territories. We have 9 SBDCs in the state of Oregon. 17 of us are affiliated with community colleges. We have 2 universities, Southern and Eastern. We have about 140 business advisors in 43 locations. There's 3 in the Portland metropolitan area. PCC, Mount Hood, and Clackamas all have SBDC centers to support the business communities in their counties. We serve about 1,200 clients a year, Kevin. Half of them want to start a business, half of them have an existing business. And then we have programs for all of those different people. We focus in about 5 areas. Veterans, we take really good care of our veterans thanks to grant that we have with Clackamas County to support the veterans in Clackamas County. I'm a vet. I got my job because of a vet. We take good care of them. Contractors are number 2. We have a very extensive contractor program. Entrepreneurship, innovation. And most people don't know this, but Clackamas County has about 3,000 small farmer razor growers. 2,000 of those folks are 60 years old and older, and we have a small farm succession and transformation program for them. When I say programs, we have classes, workshops, and events. We do about 60 to 70. We'll do less of that this year because we've been locked out for about 2.5 months. The programs that we have, the workshops and classes, give people content. And then something that's very unique about the SBDC is that we have one-on-one business advising to take that content in a program, in a class or workshop, and put it into context for your specific business. And there's no cost for that. So we are funded. We're very unique because we're funded by the Small Business Administration, Business Oregon, and of course our host institution, Clackamas Community College. We're very unique in our funding model, but part of our contracts that we have with our funding partners is actually to provide this one-on-one business advising, very much like SCORE does. But we are also partners with SBA Business Oregon to be the first line of response on the CARES Act. So if Kevin, if I could get you to pull up our network Biz Center website, I'd like to go through that a little bit.
You got it.
When this first happened, we were at about 90% capacity at our center. We're located in the Harmony campus, about a quarter of a mile west of Clackamas Town Center. We have, because of the programs that we offer, we were at about 90% capacity before this hit, but fortunately we were getting ready for accreditation through the national SBDC network in Washington, D.C. And we had put together a lot of the programs, a lot of the methods I'm going to talk about here in advance of that. So we've also been doing distance delivery at the SBDC for over 4 years. And what I mean by that, we have a virtual teleconferencing center. I had vets in my entrepreneurship class come to me and say, "Hey, I'm getting sent to Iraq or Iran, going for training. I can't complete my class." So we started exploring different methods of distance delivery, and so we had that all in place before the pandemic. We have a website called bizcenter.org, and it's a way for the 19 SBDCs to stay in contact. And what we found when the pandemic hit, people were looking for kind of like a one-stop shop resource page that would have all the information. So this bizcenter.org has a COVID page, and on that it's got all of the federal programs. It's got SBA, it's got all the state programs, and a lot of the municipal programs, very much like Wilsonville has, is on that page. And then there's a, and the screen that you have up here right now that you can see, if you go to bizcenter.org, you can find all of the 19 SBDCs in the state of Oregon. You just click on our center, Clackamas, and this is kind of what you will find if you scroll down through there, and there's a little button there that says connect with us. And I want to talk about how to use this a little bit. The first phase of recovery, and we're kind of in that right now, and I'll have to say that most of our clients, in fact, all the clients that I have talked to over the past couple of months, have either received the EIDL loan or the PPP loan, and some of them have received both of those. And so the people that have applied, and we all know the history of all of those programs, but there's about $100 billion still left to spend in PPPL. And so if you haven't applied for it, I would encourage you to do that. Go to your local bank. PPPL goes through your bank. EIDL goes through directly to SBA in Washington, D.C. So I think the next step of recovery is, how do I optimize the loan forgiveness portion? of PPPL. I think people that have been watching this, you know that there's kind of figured 8 weeks wasn't going to do it on PPPL to spend 75% of that on payroll. As we're looking at as opening up. And so the House passed 24 weeks last week. They're talking about it. You know, nothing's permanent yet, but there will be an extension of the 8-week requirement. They're also talking about lowering the 75% of the PPPL for payroll because of what they found is that a lot of people they either can't find people or people have already applied for unemployment and are not willing to come back to work, and so you can't get up to that 75% FTE for that. So anyway, that's being discussed right now. So the inquiries we're getting right now is how do I optimize the loan forgiveness portions of EIDL and PPPL? The second thing is, and we've all gone through this, when the pandemic hit, the first thing you do is kind of look at your personal budget, and you start looking at your business budget. And the next thing you do is you start eliminating stuff you don't have to spend money on. So elimination is the first step. And we've all gone through that. All of our clients have gone through it. The second step is really a review of your business model based upon what the economic situations are right now. And Raihana really explained very well about what these requirements are about reopening. So people that have very low margin businesses, it's going to be very difficult to hold out until you get into like a phase 3 recovery. So you have to really you have to kind of face the music. If you weren't making really good money with your business model before the pandemic, it's going to be some tough sledding. But one of the things that we can do is help you look at stuff that you can renew, revive, restore. Reinvent is very common. We have a lot of clients that have figured out how to get online, how to do delivery, how to actually, I don't like this word pivot, but find out what works, do more of it. What doesn't work, quit doing so much of it. And we are really eager to help people create a roadmap for the future based upon some different scenarios that they may be facing and timelines specifically, and how to manage their business to maintain their gross margins, and more importantly, how to utilize the stimulus money that we have to make sure that you have a necessary cash flow and liquidity to move forward. Kevin, if you go back to that one page.
Getting there. 1 second.
Okay. While he's getting that, I'm going to say when this happened, of course, SBA, they've only got about 5 or 6 people down in District 10, which is a 4-state region. So, you know, they're sending all their inquiries to us to help people. Business Oregon, they have a website, a very good website, and they've got a lot of resources on there. And then if you want to get a hold of us, if you go to that bizcenter.org/Clackamas, pull up this Connect with Us, and you click on Connect with Us, you can actually fill out, give us your contact information, name, phone number, business, and email, and then we will get back to you. And then we have people that can take and actually answer some of your questions that you might have. And if you haven't been to this bizcenter.org site, we always send people there because that's where all the resources are located. And then if they need some help, fill that out, and then we will schedule a one-on-one confidential business advising session with those people, either on the phone or whether a Zoom meeting like this, and we'll try to help them navigate and create this roadmap for the future. I'm taking about my amount of time, Kevin. If people have any specific questions, I think we're all going to be around to.
Great. We will circle back, and I'm sure there are going to be some questions. And so let me just go ahead and move that, and we're going to get Willie, I'm going to add. First off, I'll just do a quick intro. Willie is with Clackamas Community College Connection with Business and Industry. Had the pleasure to know him for a long time back when he was a small business owner in Tualatin. He's both got a mechanical design and product development background. And when he joined the ranks of training back in 2011, it's all about working with employers to identify business and training needs to align with revenue and strategic goals. So welcome, Willie. I'm going to add in your screen there. Okay. And take it away.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to participate. Let me get my slide mode here. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about connections with business and industry and resources that are available. So, connections with business and industry, and as you mentioned, CBI is kind of the acronym that we go by, is primarily a gateway to a host of services, resources, and networks to meet workforce and business needs. College has been helping employers and industries since 1966 when the college first opened its doors. Our personal concierge service can help connect with the departments and programs that will meet workforce training and business development needs. Put simply, we listen, we deliver, and most of all, we make it easy. CBI is comprised of 3 different departments. We heard Rob talk all about the SBDC. I'm going to cover the workforce development and customized training entities resources for you. So starting out with workforce development, they have a customized new employee recruitment. What that means is if you've got a specialized position you're looking for, say in marketing or engineering or something like that, they can help you with recruitment to get those folks available to you. On-the-job training programs, if you end up hiring folks that are not trained in the skill sets that you need, there's a program that helps with their wages for the first, I believe it's 30 days. I think there's a couple different programs, anywhere from 30 to 60 days, depending on how unique the training is, to help you get them up to speed and be a good contributor into the company. And then whether you're looking to expand business, you need more employees, or you're downsizing, they have great services for helping your employees as you scale back to help them get retrained and do jobs so that they're not left in linger for too long. Customized training, as the name kind of we have an unlimited range of work we can provide. We'll talk about some of those a little bit in a minute here. But really what we do is we tailor training unique needs. So if you're in the food processing industry and we're teaching an Excel class, we will use specific examples of your company to be able to really anchor the training for folks such that when they go back to their desk, they're basically working. They're not trying to figure out how they're going to apply what they just trained or what they just learned. And we bring our training to you, so we can train on it, or we can do what we call cohort training. We'll talk about that in a little bit also, where there may be several businesses in a community that share the need for a similar training. And again, flexible scheduling. So we can do it on your time frame as well. So if we need training in the evening or a weekend, those are the kinds of things that we can provide. If we need them at a specific time of day because we have a shift change, we do that as well.
Cool.
While we deliver, oh good Lord, a myriad of topics, these are probably some of the ones that we see the most of. Leadership development, continuous improvement, communications, emerging leaders. That's our frontline worker that's just been either promoted to supervisor or they're leading and they haven't had those formal training or a toolbox in the past. Customer service skills, industrial technical training, that's anything from welding, machining, print reading, dimensional inspection, those kinds of things. And then, of course, the all popular project management. We have added some new topics to our lineup with recent advisory council meetings and folks saying that, boy, we would really like it if you had some additional things to offer us. The first one is needs assessments, and we do those either with individual managers or with a whole leadership team, and that is to find out what's the gap we're trying to fill here? What are you trying to accomplish with training? And so we make sure that our learning outcomes align with whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, and we focus on trying to align with your strategic goals with your company. Succession planning is what we're talking about here is more for leadership positions and crucial roles, not the common owner of a company that's going to sell. We work with with the retirements that we're seeing. How do we identify those crucial roles, and how do we get folks skilled up to in a pool sense in order to fulfill those crucial roles? Financial fundamentals, those are for frontline workers to understand profit and loss statements in decision making. And then the personal care assistant is a state recognized training for frontline workers in assisted living and dementia care facilities. We've also recently added some new training modalities, and what this does is this addresses the individual folks that want to take classes rather than having to have 12 to 14 persons in your company to do your own on-site customize. This allows individuals to be able to work online or to visit one of our local campuses to take courses with folks from other companies. And as you'll notice, many of these topics have a little asterisk next to them. And what that is denoting is those are classes that we have scheduled to be delivered at the Wilsonville campus. This is something that we started working on with Jordan, I think late last fall. And we had some of these slated for this spring term, which we did have enrollment in them. But unfortunately, we got hit with the pandemic and we were not able to recover in time. So we ended up postponing those classes. But you can see those, you can expect to see those in coming up here in the fall. So I've included some resource links here for you. This first one, the online learning, that's a site you would go to search or browse for topics. So any of the topics we discussed plus more. If I want, training for an accountant, or if I want training for a conflict management, for example, that's where you could go and find those types of classes. The customized training, that's where you would contact our office and we would assist you with a needs assessment to find out what it is you're trying to accomplish so that we can make sure that we have the right instructor, the right course outlines to meet your needs. Then the workforce services link, that's in the event that you're looking to expand or contract your workforce. And then, of course, a great way, and this is what I tell a lot of folks, this is the best way to keep in touch with us and know what's going on, is subscribe to our newsletter. It comes out monthly, so you don't get overburdened with it. We've always got our schedule of what classes are coming on at the various campuses and timeframes. And likewise, the door is open for more input. Like I say, we built a lot of this training based on input from eyes and ears in the Wilsonville community. Thank you to Jordan. Thank you to Kevin as well for providing input to us as far as what training is needed in the community. So that about concludes what I had to share this morning. So how do we say that? Back to you, Kevin. And
All righty. Really, thanks. And we'll have some questions later. And what I want to do now is I want to go to our last guest expert, last but certainly not least, because he is our own Jordan Vance, City of Wilsonville Economic Development Manager. And for those of you that don't know, Jordan is a native. He hails from Montana. He has a degree in economics and international relations from Tulane University. He has a decade plus of experience in community economic development. He's worked with a variety of small, medium, and large businesses to access critical resources. And in his role as economic development manager, you will find him always dedicated to help figure out how to be responsible, to partner that can enhance both the local and regional economic development relationships, and basically help our community grow by having great quality, sustainable business investment and growth. With that, we're going to hand it over to Jordan for a quick presentation on what's happening and the resources available from the City of Wilsonville. Take her away, Jordan.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, can you see my screen okay, Kevin?
We're getting there. We're adding it to the stream. There we go. Yep.
All right, so I'll just give a quick update today on what the City of Wilsonville has been doing to support reopening and recovery. We've had a couple programs the last few months. In April, we were very busy. We had a relief grant program, and we dispersed $400,000 worth of relief grants to 125 businesses. Grants ranging from $1,000 to $5,000. This was micro and small business and home-based businesses with under 20 full-time employees. Thank you to Kevin for your partnership in helping to craft and design the program eligibility criteria. Most recently, last week, we dispersed PPE to 61 businesses to support reopening efforts. So the city had an extra stockpile, and we were able to distribute 126 boxes of gloves and 660 masks to local public-facing retail businesses that will be reopening as part of phase one. Our next program, so we presented this to council last night, we'll be offering expedited and free review for expanded outdoor seating requests. So we know that it's a hard time for restaurants right now with capacity at 50% for phase one reopening, and with the 6-foot distancing guidelines. We know it's a very challenging times, and there's probably increased costs with the sanitation and cleaning requirements. So as a way to support our restaurants, we're trying to expedite and streamline the requests that come in for expanded seating to increase the customer capacity for our local food and beverage businesses. So I'll go into a little bit more detail on what that process looks like. And then the last update is the city is going to be reopening our facilities on June 8th. So there'll be new guidelines, new distancing guidelines, new capacity requirements for each space within our buildings, but that will be happening on June 8th. And so here's some links that we have on our website. These are being updated frequently. We have a resource page for business operators, and that is where the information is for the expanded outdoor seating requests. And then we have a guide to reopening Oregon businesses that we try to tailor to Wilsonville needs. So we're tentatively calling it the Dine Out Wilsonville program for expanded outdoor seating requests. We're trying to facilitate and encourage the safe reentry of food and drink establishments in Wilsonville. So through this program, all permit fees are waived. Normally, I think it costs about $350 for a similar permit, but we know it's different circumstances, so we are waiving those fees. The applications require the owner's signature and we will issue the permits within 1 to 2 days, as fast as we can. The intent is to be flexible. The requirements are basically to maintain ADA access and circulation. So if the business can just show a quick plan that shows how those things are generally maintained, the request should be approved. And then as long as there is adherence to OHA and applicable county standards. So in Wilsonville, we don't have as many restaurants along our pedestrian streets. So the proposals may likely include public streets or private streets or shopping centers where the property owners would have the ability to transform parking spaces into parklets and add expanded outdoor seating in the public right-of-way, including sidewalks and parking areas. So following are a couple renderings that show possible scenarios that could be requested on public or private properties. These were actually produced by Peabot in Portland, and we thought they were a great example and an illustrative example of the types of scenarios we could see. We can't guarantee all of these requests, but we will do our best to maintain circulation while accommodating these requests. So here's a couple examples. Here is a curb zone use. So this is more of a limited use for expanded outdoor seating. Here is more of a expanded use. So this is a neighborhood plaza scenario. And it looks like, last I heard, that Portland is headed this direction to consider turning some of their commercial streets into weekend European style outdoor plazas. So this is more along those lines. Here's a mini neighborhood plaza. So this is a little bit scaled back. And then this last scenario is a full Main Street closure. So this is a more expanded version of an outdoor street fair that would safely allow customers to patronize businesses and eat food while we're supporting our local businesses. So again, I just wanted to reiterate, these are illustrative. We will do our best to accommodate. We know it's challenging times, and we know this is temporary, hopefully, over the summer months. And so if you have questions or you'd like to fill out an application, you can go to our business resource page for COVID-19 resources. And at the very top, there's a section that says requests for expanded outdoor seating areas. And there's a link right here to the permit.
Wonderful.
So with that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All righty. So we're going to open up to some questions. First question for Raihana is, as you look at the guidelines, phase 2 was proposed this week in a rough format. One of the criteria that has raised some questions is that even if a county is seemingly doing okay, there's a category that says if in the state that the incidence of flu has increased, that could impact. Are you able to speak to that at all, as to kind of what the background and rationale is at all on that, please?
Hi, Kevin. Unfortunately,
Volume's down a little bit, Raihana.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to speak to that. I know that there was a draft that was disseminated for what phase 2 may look like. I think the governor is going to have a press conference tomorrow about that. So I think more details to come.
Okay, thank you. Ready. The big question really for most of our businesses is if in a couple weeks revenues and recovery, let's just say the broader tense, recovery isn't happening. You've outlined a number of different resources from each of you. Maybe if you can take 1 minute to say, okay, if somebody sees something that says maybe this fits, but I'm not sure what my next steps are, how do they reach out and try to get some of the individual attention that they need? What's the best way to do that? Whoever wants to kind of take that, because I think everybody's business, while we're all in business, all the businesses are different, and they may not even be 100% sure what they need, but they go, this isn't working, I'm not making it, what do I do next to get to recover? Who would like to take the first one? Okay, Rob.
Yeah, Kevin, I think this is, for people like you and me, Kevin, with a little gray in there. We've been through some of this before, with 9/11 and the financial crisis in 2008. And of course, this is unprecedented. But, what happens is you kind of go through a phase of shock and then you become, angry or anxious. And then finally you have to get some resolve and then start moving forward. And that moving forward is kind of creating a roadmap or a blueprint to do that. And so, and we can help do that, and we do it all the time. And we've been through it, like in the financial crisis of 2008. Elimination is first. Revive, restore, renew, reinvent is next. And then really look at how you're going to be viable in the future, and that's at that particular roadmap. And we can help people with that. So.
And Rob, there are individual classes, but I always learn something new when you speak. The one-to-one confidential is available by going to the website and filling out the contact form. Is that correct?
No, that's correct, Kevin. Thank you for bringing that up. That's exactly how. And we will get back to people, and then we'll make an arrangements to talk to them and get more resources for them.
So it's SBDC isn't well enough known by most of our business community. So if you're sharing what's happening with another owner and they say, I'm not sure what to do, that's a great first stop. Fill out the information on the contact form and you'll get reached back. Willie, you guys have got some new classes. And again, if there's what's keeping you up at night is something I've heard you mention, that's where you guys live, right?
Yes, exactly. We're, like I say, we're kind of a concierge and a gateway as well.
Okay.
And Jordan is also another great conduit through the city. So rather than someone panicking and not knowing who to contact, I would say reach out to whoever you know, and we all collaborate together and can get them in touch with who the best person is going to be to get them to the next steps.
Right. So the important message to our business community is that the reopening is happening, and our governor and the team are working to continue to move us through that. But the practical side of running the business, if you're up against it, there are people who can help. There are resources that are available that are in most cases free, and when you have the chance, you got to ask. So that's job one. Jordan, anything to add to that at all?
I would just echo that sentiment. I mean, I think we're looking at some of the main resources that I'm promoting are the folks on this call with SBDC. Yep. Clackamas Community College training has been one of the most popular programs for our local employers. I'm happy you please reach out to me. If you have questions about access to capital, workforce, grants, relief, I can hopefully connect you and help you liaise you to the right point of contact.
Great. And of course, the Wilsonville Chamber of Commerce is here every day, and that's what we do every day is to try to collaborate and convene people together. We are standing up a new non-for-profit called We Are Wilsonville, which is primary purpose is to connect businesses to the overall stakeholders, whether those are nonprofits and everybody else. But one of the things that's come out of that is an opportunity to actually have some peer groups where maybe you don't need the expert, maybe you need just to talk amongst yourself, because the mental side of this business is pretty taxing. So we will have some announcements in the next week or two where we'll have some small group, whether it's virtually or safe distancing over a cup of coffee or an adult beverage. Are there things among peer groups of business owners that you want to get together and just kind of share what's going on? And we're happy to that'll be announced probably next week after our meeting. We're going to be first round is meeting at Vanguard Brewing to just again kind of sit down and talk about what's happening, and at that point the resources will be there, but sometimes it's just having another ear to listen to and another business owner to bounce an idea off. So it's a unprecedented time, and no matter how many commercials we see with that and it gets seemingly trite, it is true. So we understand that all the businesses are facing some pretty big challenges. So we want to be here. There was a mention made about PPP loan forgiveness by Rob. it's important that tomorrow, this same location at your Facebook page for the Wilsonville Chamber, and we're also partnering with Tiger Chamber, Tualatin, Canby Chambers. Chris Eiler from the U.S. Chamber will be giving the latest update on the latest guidelines relative to PPP loan forgiveness. He will try to peer into his crystal ball and say, what does phase 4 support for business look? It's always an interesting parlor game to figure out if we can predict where Congress is going to come down, but there are some particularly encouraging signs that something may happen there. So 8 to 9 a.m. tomorrow is important. We would encourage you to be there. Out of another chamber quick announcement, out of the We Are Wilsonville group, totally unrelated to business recovery, but it is about reopening. There will be a 4th of July parade this year. So understandably, the city of Wilsonville had to cancel the main events just like everybody else, but there was a widespread community. Can we do something in a safe environment? So there will be a vehicle only parade that will be happening on 4th of July. We're working with the police to make sure all the details will be announced on Friday. But if you're a small business and you want to let people know that you're there and you want to say thanks for being a part of Wilsonville, we'd recommend you put a vehicle in the parade, and it's not big marketing, but people need to know that you're out there. So we'd encourage that. If you are a small business to medium-sized business and want others in the community to know, on June 11th, we are doing a first ever virtual speed networking with our Tiger Chamber. It's an opportunity, if you've ever been to a regular speed networking where you go out to Embassy Suites and everybody's at tables, you'll be in tables in an actual software. So you'll be able to see who's there. You'll be able to interact. So it'll function just like a regular speed networking, only it'll be safe and virtual. So those are the couple announcements. We got about 3 more minutes. So again, all links will be shared in the feeds that were mentioned today. And I want to see if there's any last comments or help from the group. Anybody want to share anything else at this point? So the great takeaway is that you have a lot of dedicated professionals sitting here on this screen that are here to help your small or medium or even large size business. We never leave out our large size businesses. They have needs as well. But basically, the economic prosperity of our city and our South Metro area is very important, and together, working with experts and leaders and all the people on the ground that want to help you, there are resources. You just have to ask. Pick any one of these folks here on the call and reach out and say, hey, I'm having a challenge. And you've got a lot of dedicated, smart people here to help you. And we look forward to the opportunity to do that, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to say thanks, signing off for now, and make it a great week. And we hope to see you tomorrow for PPP loan forgiveness.
Thanks, Kevin.